Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Mango, the GOAT. This is another mental liberation moment, and this is the IIP. IIP stand for Involuntary Immigrants Podcast. How does it feel to be a nigga today? Better than it felt yesterday. Now, I'm about to talk on something that's very controversial. And a lot of y'all gonna be like, shut the fuck up, Mango. You ain't a doctor. I'm not. Full disclaimer. I ain't a doctor. I'm gonna speak about a lot of mental illness, though. And because I have a mind, I got the right to speak on it. This is just all my opinion. Okay? We have this thing with society where we feel like the only people that should be able to speak about shit is a doctor. No, fuck no. You should be able to speak about the things in life because, motherfucker, you are alive. Don't let them strip you of your living and your living experience. Okay? So, motherfucker, here goes my opinion. A lot of mental illness is really just societal illness, and you're mentally sane, maybe even genius, but find it hard to conform to this weird ass shit being indoctrinated to us as a people. I said it. See, here's how I go. First, they separate our spirit from nature with religion. If you look at like them African people, like voodoo, all forms of voodoo, the Guada got, they call it Santeria. In the South, they call it hoodoo, roots, all this shit. A lot of that shit come from the motherland. It came across the world by way of slavery. So a lot of that voodoo stuff, if you look at voodoo, it scares the shit out of you if you're, I want to say European raised majority of the time, because they tell you that's some devil shit. Because that shit scare white people, because it's too much in the jungles. It's too much of the nature of black people just study the nature of that shit, right? It's nature based. And it be real with you, man. Science can explain a lot of that shit. Science is bullshit, in my opinion. Because most of the time, if you know, science is just straight, what they say, hypothesis and theory, this theory, that theory. This theory mean the shit ain't fact. It's a theory. And we in this realm now because they replaced, we'll get to that later. But first they separated our spirit from nature with religion, right? And this is symbolic of the tree of knowledge. Right? See, knowledge forced us out the purest form of nature. Fucking with that tree. We got some pussy and we want some knowledge. And it forced us out the purest form of nature. That's Garden of Eden. See, now the cycle repeats, right? But it does it on a different level. See, you find righteousness in religion now. You get religious and you find a pure form. You find righteousness, right and wrong to this indoctrination, right? But then they separate you from what you know of that, and then they introduce science. Now notice, the more and more they separate us from the foundation, the more and more it leads to being mankind controlled. See, now, by lack of confidence in oneself, one will hand over their power to someone they believe can handle power better. So the first step to create a slave is the destruction of the mind, then the soul, then that spiritual energy. Now, you see, this kind of kick into what I was talking about with the doctors. How many motherfuckers just got the jab willingly? Because the doctor, them scientists say that it's good. It's good. You ain't never met one of them motherfuckers a day in your life. But you just, because you don't know, you like, well, shit, they gotta know. Why do they gotta know? Why do you feel like they gotta know what the fuck they talking about? Why do you have so much confidence in them? And that's because of how we indoctrinated. We indoctrinated like the more you know of this, the more you're skilled in it. But that's not necessarily the case. See, I used to watch that motherfucking show, House. And the thing about House was a fucking great doctor, right? He was just a shit. He was a dope ass doctor. But if you watch House, it took him an hour to fix a bitch. And that's just an hour of the show. That could have been like a week span, couple days, So these motherfuckers suffering. He's just like either playing games with these people, like, oh no, he might have this, and he knew he didn't have it. Or he might really be stumped a little bit. Like, well, he has this and that. Let's try him for this. Treat him for that. Then the motherfucker get worse. And in the last 5 minutes, he say, I knew it. I'm House. I'm smart. He had some shit that Doc McStuffins could name. Right? People is people. People is people. Now, granted, doctors do go off and study longer and do all of this and that. But ever since I heard this old lady, she's an elder, and she talked about like bitches putting period blood in the spaghetti and shit like that. And then it makes sense. The shit sounds crazy. Like, no, that won't work. But then you look at the animals. When do animals mostly mate? That's when the bitch is in heat. When a bitch in heat, she bleed from the pussy. So, bitch put period blood in your spaghetti and it's supposed to fuck you up towards her. But it's like, no, that's bullshit. Listen, man, it's something about science only really been popping for the last couple 100 years. We have, if you think about it, in the last 50 years ago, motherfuckers didn't have flat screen TVs, cell phones, and none of that shit. We just like rapidly advanced. So the babies, people who are graduating this year, to them, these motherfuckers don't even really know what house phones are. They never got them AOL discs. None of that shit. So to them, they really indoctrinated to the science. Right? And the deeper the science shits go, the motherfuckers telling you, men can have babies now and all this and that. Now, I'm not going to dabble into that, but I'm just saying society now is putting all of this shit into fucking science. The fucking white dude with the beard, he did a fucking documentary. It was called like, What is a Woman? And he went to the African tribes and he asked them, can a man be a woman? And he just went on his shit. That's not the thing that puzzled me. The thing that amazed me about that scene there was when he went to Africa with the tribesmen and this and that. And I was like, I never seen this dude talking to like African tribesmen before. Why he bringing us in on this bullshit? But the one thing also was those people didn't have science there like that. They had like that elder wisdom tribesmen. And I know some of y'all going to say, well, they miss out on a lot of the good medicine. Medicine for what? Medicine for shit they probably wouldn't be introduced to if Europeans don't take their ass there. Because obviously them people been living for thousands and thousands of years there. So most of this shit that you say, they need the smallpox vaccines there. And then people are like, what the fuck is smallpox? We didn't have that shit. Don't even know who told you we fuck with that shit. Don't bring that over here. So a lot of this shit, like people in their regions learn how to deal with shit there. And they come up with like some ancient shit, man. Like the people of Kemet, everybody has their own fucking resources and shit. I was telling somebody the other day, man, we got to cut ACs off. I want all y'all niggas that's listening to me, every now and again, sweat some, cut your ACs off here and there. You know, live like your grandmama and your great grandmama lived. Them niggas is way tougher than us. You know, way tougher. We got like this spoiled thing to us. You know, good Lord, it's hot. My house says 79 degrees. It's too hot in here. Oh, the AC. Man, them people didn't have none of that shit. I watched a documentary on an old slave plantation up there in Jacksonville, and they showed the houses up there, and it was like two families lived in like a studio apartment that was split down the middle, and they had a window. They keep the windows and the doors open in the summertime to keep cool. Shit like that. And these people wake up and they work all day, but they was on a certain system to where as soon as the work was done, they was free to do whatever they wanted to. But they just had to get their work done for the day. And looking at that, and it's like, I see niggas sitting in the air conditioning all day like, man, ain't nobody hiring. My baby need milk, but ain't nobody hiring. I gotta go rob a bitch. And it's like, we so far gone from our ancestors. I hate that fucking shirt, man. That shirt that say, dear white people, I'm not my ancestor. Sign these hands. It's like, nah, nigga, you ain't your ancestors. None of us is our ancestors. If you a badass nigga right now, your ancestor was probably 20 times better. Because we are diluted. We have diluted ourselves. We got spoiled to the system. We start believing the shit. And a lot of that, like I say, is indoctrination. By the time you get your ass in school, February, they telling you, Martin Luther King said, be peaceful now, nigga. Martin Luther King said, love thy neighbor, nigga. Yeah, we gonna piss you off here and there, but please, we shall overcome, nigga. Just sing a hymn, nigga. That's not how it should be. We should have the same mentality as America. We should have the same mentality as anybody with common sense. We shouldn't trust everything. You shouldn't, trust, but, they say trust but verify. No, fuck that. Verify, then trust the motherfucker. Like, nah, you can't just blindly trust anything that has not earned your trust. And most of that, like I said, goes with a lot of these corporations that make the dope and make all of this shit. I'd like to thank y'all for listening. I hope y'all make it back. And blessings to y'all and y'all family.
Do you remember writing in your diary that freedom is the freedom to say 2 and 2 make 4?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up, Winston?
4.
And if the party says it is not 4 but 5, then
4.
180. How many? 190. How many fingers, Winston?
4. 5. 4. Anything you like. Only stop the pain. Stop.
Involuntary. Done contrary to or without choice. Involuntary.
Immigrant.
Done contrary
Definition
to
1.
or without choice.
Person who immigrates.
Involuntary.
Immigrant.
Done contrary
Definition
to
1.
or without choice.
Person who comes
Done contrary to or without choice. Done contrary to or without choice. Done contrary to or without choice.
Definition 1. Immigrant. Definition 1. Unknown. Person who established. Plant or unknown.
Get down, finger.
Unknown. Established.
Trying to free your mind.
What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need it. The question you gotta ask yourself, the white population of this country's gotta ask itself, North and South, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference between North and the South. There's just, a difference in the way they castrate you.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
Involuntary. Done contrary to or without choice.
Immigrant. Definition 1. A person who immigrates. Definition 2. A plant or animal that becomes established where it was previously unknown.